Okay, this is 10.1. We're going to do 10.1 and 10.2. All right, 10.1 is the three-dimensional coordinate plane. Okay, you guys are familiar with your coordinate plane, two-dimensional X and Y, right? 3D just means it kind of jumps out at you, right? It has 3 dimensions. To me, I am horrible at visualizing things. Geometry is not my thing. I have a tough time seeing things. But plotting, I'm not going to have you guys plot any points in the third dimension. I just want you to understand how it kind of goes. This is an ordered triple, right? 2, -3, 3. X value is 2, -3 is the Y, +3 is the Z. We've solved equations where we had an ordered triple as an answer, and there is an actual point that you can find in space, but the grid looks like this. So do you see this point right here? That is our 2, -3, 3. If you notice, this is your x-axis here. This is your y-axis here. Do you guys see that? And then here is z. So what they tell you to do is, almost like turn your head a little bit, locate the point 2, -3 on your xy plane. And then if it's a positive z value, that's above that point. And if it's a negative, it's below. Again, I'm not going to have you guys plot these points. But like this one, -2, 6, 2. You'd find -2, 6 on your coordinate pair or your coordinate plane. And then to find 2, would you go up 2 spaces or down 2 spaces? Is it positive or negative? Is your z positive or negative? Positive. So you'd go up. In this case, you'd find 1, 4, and then do you move anywhere from that? No. And then here you find 2, 2, and then from that point on a coordinate xy plane, you would go down 3. Right? Visualizing it is hard. I understand that. I just want you guys to see that. So we're going to use the distance and midpoint formula. We're not talking about circles here. We're talking about a sphere. So think about a globe or a basketball. Is this familiar to anybody? It's the same distance formula you have used before, right? But now we're just adding one more parenthesis. So when you're finding the distance from one point to another in a sphere, or from the middle of a sphere to the outside, like think about like inside of a ball to any place on the outside of the ball, you're thinking 3-dimensionally, not 2-dimensionally. So you have the difference in x's, the difference in y's, and the difference in z. Mathematically, algebraically, this is easy to find. If they're asking you to find the distance between these 2 points, this is 2 points, right? It's just in a 3D plane. Well, this is my x, this is my y, and this is my z, correct? So this is my x here, my y, and my z. So to find the distance, it's your x's, right? Look at your distance formula. You subtract your x's, x2 minus x1. Can you do it the opposite way? Can you do 1 minus 2? Yeah, it doesn't matter because you're going to square it. Plus y2 minus y1 squared plus z2 minus z1 squared. All it is the difference between each of those points, the value squared, you add them together. You guys have done the distance between 2 points a gajillion times, so you're just adding one extra thing. So my 2 x's are 0 and 1, right? So I'm going to say 0 minus 1 squared plus, what are my y's? 3 and what? Sorry, what are my y's? 1 and 4. So 1 minus 4 squared. And then what are my z's? 3 minus -2. Everybody with me? So now to simplify, what is 0 minus 1? -1. Okay, -1 squared. And then I have 1 minus 4, so it gives me plus -3 squared. Plus 3 minus the negative is really same as positive, right? So 5 squared. What's -1 squared? 1. What's -3 squared? 9. And what's 5 squared? 25. So what's 1 plus 9 plus 25?
35.
So squared 35 is the distance between those two things. Does that make sense? that incredibly difficult for all of us to do? No. It's the distance formula. You're just adding one extra variable. So on your quiz, when you guys have your quiz next week, you'll be given points and say, hey, find the distance here. Same thing, you're going to find the midpoint. We're going to find the equation of a sphere. We're going to find the equation of a sphere by completing the square. It's everything we've already done. We're just adding an extra variable. And then 10-2 is vectors, which we've already done. So like here's an example of midpoint. Well, how did we find the midpoint before? We added the x's and divided by 2, added the y's divided by 2, right? Well, with an ordered triple, you add the x's divided by 2, you add the y's divided by 2, and you add the z's and divide by 2. Yeah. So let's do this. I have 5 plus 0 divided by 2. I have negative 2 plus 4 divided by 2. And I have 3 plus 4 divided by 2. Questions? What is 5 plus 0? So I have 5 over 2. What's negative 2 plus 4? Negative 2 plus 4? 2. And 2 divided by 2 is? 1. Good. And then I have 3 plus 4 is? So there's the midpoint. All right. Anybody have questions? Everybody all right? Alrighty. Let's move on to the next one. Here is the equation of a square. Did I say square? I meant sphere. I'm sorry. We're not talking about squares. What does this look similar to? The equation of a what? Of a circle, right? The equation of your circle was this, correct? So now we're adding one extra variable. So the center of your sphere is not just HK, it's HKJ. They use the letter J. So in an example where they say, okay, here is an ordered triple, and here's the radius. Go ahead and figure out what the equation of the sphere is. First of all, if I look at this one, what is the center for this sphere? What's being added or subtracted to x, to y, and to z? Anything?
0.
So it would be 0, 0, 0, right? So we are going to take this ordered pair, triple. This is my x, my y, my z. And this is my radius. My radius is 3. And we're going to write the equation. It's just like the equation of a circle. You just have one extra variable. So it's, we're not finding the distance. Come on. So I have x minus h squared plus y minus k squared plus z minus j squared equals radius squared. So plug in. What am I going to write? What's my equation? X, what? Minus 2 squared, right? Plus y minus 4 squared, then what? Plus z minus 3 squared equals what? What's your radius? What does it tell you right there? The radius is, guys. Come on. Radius is 3, so 3 squared is 9. There's the equation of your sphere. If any part of your ordered triple was negative, when you put it into the formula, it would become what? Positive, plus. Good. Does that make sense? You guys all right? Okay, moving along. This is the exact same page. Sorry, didn't mean to have it in there twice. All right, last thing we're going to do is just finding the center and the radius of a sphere. We're not going to do that last example. So I have this. I needed to get into standard form. Standard form would be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared plus z minus j squared, right? So we're just going to complete the square. And Shane's not here, but what would Shane tell us? We got to organize it all. Collect it, right? You're completing the square instead of 2 times. How many times? 3. Nothing we can't handle. So I have x squared plus, what's the other x that I have?
2x.
So it'd be minus actually 2x. Then I have plus my box. All right, so let's do another color. So then I have y squared plus 4y plus the box, right? And then what's another color? We'll do purple. So I have z squared minus 6z plus the box. And then what happens to that positive 8? If I'm completing the square, what happens to that positive 8? We move it over, right? And it becomes what? Negative 8. All right, so we're completing the square, guys, 3 times. I'm going to, in the blue, I'm going to take my middle term, which is negative 2, and I'm going to divide it by 2. What is negative 2 divided by 2? Negative 1. So my first binomial is x minus 1 squared. Then when I square negative 1, what is negative 1 times negative 1? Positive 1. And what you add to one side, you have to add to the other. Correct? Now we're going to do the same thing, but with y. So I'm going to use red. So I have 4 divided by 2 equals what? 2. So my second binomial is y plus 2 squared. Well, 2 squared is 4. So what I add to one side, I add to the other. So plus 4 over here. Everybody with me? And now I'll be in purple. So I have, bring down my negative 6, divide that by 2, I get what? Negative 3. So then I have z minus 3 squared. What is negative 3 squared? 9. I'm going to add 9 to both sides. So what is negative 8 plus 1? Negative 7, right? Plus 4. It's negative 7 plus 4. Negative 3, thank you. Plus 9 gives me. Negative 3 plus 9 gives me 6. So we have now written our equation in standard form of our sphere. So if I said to you guys right now, well, tell me what the center is. What is the center of this sphere? Not positive 1. Good. It's the opposite. Positive 1. Then what? Negative 2 and 3. Perfect, Camila. So that's my center. And then what's my radius? In the formula, it's correct. My formula is radius squared, so here it would be the square root of 6. Now, if that was like 18, say the square root of 18, you'd have to break that down. But this, guys, it's the same thing we've been doing 50 million times. So your web assign is a whole bunch of these problems. It's finding the distance, midpoint, and then completing the square. But it's not due until next Friday. Don't ask me for an extension. I'm not giving extensions on these 2 homework assignments. You have between now and next Friday to do it, so do it. If you don't do it tonight, no big deal.